Hi everyone, welcome to the Fashion Experiment. I am Dr. Bridget, your professor of all things fashion, and today's topic is fashion forecasting. Fashion forecasting is one of those areas that really can confuse people because first of all, you're thinking, how do you predict the future? How do you know what future fashions will be? And while it's a challenge, it's really not that difficult because people are very predictable. And there are many more fashion followers than there are fashion leaders. Um, and then the number one thing that you need to realize is when you think about predicting fashion, you have to look outside of the fashion industry. You have to look at your customer, the person who will be purchasing the products. You have to look at their entire life. So what are their lifestyles? What do they involve? Their lifestyles, yeah. What do they involve? What do they do with their life? What do they spend their time doing? What are their hobbies? What are their interests? And then you're outside of the fashion bubble and you come further out of the bubble. What is going on in the world? How is that impacting the customer's lifestyle? Is it changing their life in any way? So big picture topics like war and unrest in the world on a global perspective can impact an individual and how they choose to dress themselves. So let's say this world perspective that could be somewhat negative and you're feeling like you're less safe in your space, you may choose to dress in a way that not only covers your body but protects your body. So maybe you're in warrior mode and you want to wear fatigues and you want to wear, battle gear like a, a vest and combat boots, things like that is how we begin to develop trends and how they become forecasted and styles that people adopt and wear is based on things that are larger than fashion themselves. So I need to share that information so that you will understand um, our lesson before I, went into the specific details about forecasting and the process of forecasting. I wanted you to really think, not not thinking specifically about fashion, but thinking about things outside of fashion first, and then we will whittle it down to, yes, this is something that we think customers will like to wear to, present themselves to the world for different reasons. Um, and another thing that I want to share in regards to forecast, just remember that there are fashion leaders and, or let me share that, maybe you don't know that, to remember it, right? And then aside from fashion leaders or in addition to fashion leaders, there is a process in the fashion industry of how things move, how something is introduced to the public and then moves from, that introduction stage to becoming popular and desired by, you know, all the masses in the public. And they're called fashion theories. And I'll do a lesson on fashion theories um, later on because it directly relates to our fashion forecasting lesson now. So what is forecasting? It's the practice of predicting upcoming trends. And really the hardest part is this starting point. And it really just involves the forecaster or you just being aware, okay? Being aware, lifting your head, out of your phone. For some people, we're so obsessed with virtual world and social media, myself included, but really bringing yourself out of your bubble and observing what's going on in your world outside of what you currently know. So understanding what's going on in technology, in art, in different cultures, in science, um, our global world. So everyday events that are happening across the country that will have an impact on the United States and on you, in whatever country you live in. Just having your third eye open to the world around you, that you might not necessarily exist in or have a connection to, but just being aware of it. And that's the biggest part, the biggest part. All right, so in the practice of predicting trends, we're trying to interpret and analyze what we see when we're observing. Well, what group of people are interested in being health conscious and being eco-friendly and interested in climate change and making different choices regarding how they spend their money on clothing because they realize that the disposal of clothing is polluting the earth. That's a really big issue now. Sustainable fashion and how to make the fashion industry more sustainable. And that's a really huge trend, a huge, I would say, just a whole nother era that's evolving in the world today because of where we exist now. We're at the point where we've depleted a lot of natural resources and we're continuing to use them, and they're natural, so they cannot be regenerated. And we're going to get to a point in Earth, and that might not be during your lifetime or my lifetime, but we will eventually get to a point on Earth where we don't have those natural resources, the coal and other natural resources, water. Who can imagine running out of water, but it can happen. And then where's that going to leave the world? So that's where one trend that's evolving and continuing to grow and impacting the fashion industry. Okay, there's tons of brands that are making organic, 100% organic cotton t-shirts or fully organic and sustainable clothing lines. So anyway, that evolved not from fashion, it evolved from the world and what we're experiencing in the world, all over the world. Okay, so in observing these different things that are occurring in the world, we look at it and analyze it to see, well, is there anything here that can be connected back to fashion? And honestly, everything that's happening in the world is connected back to fashion because it happens to people. It happens to human beings. And we're emotional people. And a lot of times, most of the time, I would say, we are driven by our emotions when we dress ourselves. When you choose to get dressed in the morning, you are influenced by your feelings. All right. So you see in this discussion that we've begun, it is not directly related to fashion. I mean, that's the end result, but that's not where you start. Okay, the end result is identifying particular styles, garments that we believe our customers would want to wear, but that's not where you start. All right. And then, like I said, I am going to pick up and do another lesson in the fashion theory so you can see once you do identify something that you believe can become a trend, catch on and spread across large masses of consumers, you'll see how it spreads, and those are the fashion theories. And then we're just going to look at a few influences of fashion. And these are just possibly starting points where you would look for inspirations or look for what I call themes of where you can see a large group of consumers being influenced by something. Okay, so number one is historic costumes. And that is just simply the history of fashion. If you find a historic costume book, Google it and get one from Amazon or something like that, or just go to the library and leaf through it, or Google it and see if you can find an ebook. Studying the history of fashion, you will see how different styles were established and where they evolved from, and the lifestyles of the people at that time. And you'll start to see connections between different time periods and different styles and trends. Understanding history, the history of anything, will give you more insight and a better understanding of where you're trying to go or what you're trying to understand in that moment. Okay, the history of fashion is an extremely important starting point. And then another influencer is definitely ethnic cultures. And I have this here because in today's world, we have access to the internet, which allows us to research any and everything. You can be sitting at your computer like you are now or on your phone and then instantly be in another country experiencing the culture of that country. And because of now the closeness between different cultures, because of the access that we had to information and being able to expose ourselves to those different cultures through technology, it has been infused into our fashion styles. All right, so I reference here on my slide printed scarves, and then India, and just adorning yourselves with scarves. So you can create garments, and head dresses, tying your hair up with the scarves. You can do many different things with scarves, and it's a cultural reference. Okay, it's not really what I would call just a fashionable thing, because it comes from someone else's culture and there is meaning to it in that culture. But we're adopting it and using it for the prevailing style of the moment. But really we've been influenced by someone else's culture. And there's many instances where that's happened from all the cultures that I've listed. Another fashion influence, of course, are public figures. Those people who are in the public eye that consumers see on a daily basis. They have their own following and fan base. So celebrities, sports personalities, are at the top of the list. But it could be other famous individuals, politicians, people who individuals have strong feelings about, who they want to support because they support their ideals and what they represent. And these individuals are in the public eye, and because of that, they are very influential, and people look to them sometimes for style, for fashion style, a sense of fashion. So we do that definitely. In this day and age, celebrities, everybody is celebrity crazed, it seems like. So I asked the question, do you like any celebrities, and those celebrities that you like, do you look to them for ideas about what to wear? And really, it's almost synonymous, celebrities and sports personalities and fashion. It's like they almost go together. And I will also add music to that, because the celebrities and these and other individuals in the public eye really are taking advantage of their position, and they realize the impact that they have, and they're using it to create their own branded items and branded products. And almost, it's like you can't think of one celebrity who does not have their own brand, a clothing brand, a cosmetic brand, a perfume, an athletic shoe, something. They're all dabbling in fashion. Okay, so here's an example of a piece of a fashion forecast, and this is for spring 27. So remember, at the front of the lesson, I was explaining how forecasting does not start with fashion. You look outside of yourself, outside of the fashion industry, to the greater world, to examine consumers in their own lifestyles, in their own environment, and see what's going on in the world. So this theme is called New Vision, New View, New Vision. And it's really all about empowering consumers and encouraging them to think more positively about their world. You know, it's not what you see, it's what you envision it to be. So I really like it. It's very positive. And the standout color for the spring summer 17 is what they're calling greenery. It's a bright, bold, lively green color. And again, it's all about this new view. You can rebirth yourself, rebirth your life, rebirth your world, and make it a new view and a new vision. So I really like this theme, and it really connects to, again, people's feelings. You start with something that your customers or consumers in general feel strongly about, and then you build up the forecast. You add the colors, which are across the bottom of the image there, and then you go into detail about textiles. Textiles are fabrics. So what fabrics do we want to connect to the theme that also communicate this rebirth, this fresh new start, this positive feeling? So for me, I see, lightweight fabrics, fabrics that are flowy, that promote freedom, not stiff structured fabrics. So that's how you build your forecast. And then the last part of the forecast is adding your garment styles. And that's where you're going to spend a lot of time researching what's currently relevant to your customer in regards to garment styles, because while we do forecast new things each season, we are repeating a lot of different styles. For example, the slim silhouette has been very popular for many, many seasons now. So you would not see, the industry straying drastically away from a slim silhouette. We are introducing a fuller style now, but it's not going to be just abruptly cutting off a silhouette that has been a constant part of our customers' wardrobe for many years. So you make gradual changes. But, from the outside looking in, customers see it as something new every season because that's the way it's being presented to them. All right. Okay, I really enjoyed this lesson. I love it. All right, so as always, if you like this lesson, please be sure to subscribe to the Fashion Experiment and tell others about your experience. This is the Fashion Experiment, and you've just gone beyond the ordinary. Class is dismissed.